my necky. Hi everyone, Sailor URANUS here, Sailor Skyworld, Amara here, and today we're going to talk about, would would Renaissance Atlantic Sailor Moon or New Birth Great Sea Sailor Moon, would it get hate from the Sailor Moon followership? Well, after talking about the hatred of the Deep Glee one and the Pioneer Glee or Pathseeker Glee Sailor Moon, I would like to think it would. Sadly, I like to think it would get hate from the Sailor Moon followership. Why? Because it's not like what. Why? Because once again there were a lot of freedoms, and folks will bitch about things if they're not right. First off, they would bitch about the ones who did watch it when it came out, in the 8th month of 2022 YL. Look on Euro, it's still up there. You can watch it. Anyway, a lot of folks would have bitched about the not having Dawnish names, the Dawnish borrow names that they make a big deal out of. They were bitching once again about the Frenchish, Latinish, Spanish, Farsiest, Blacklandish, Hellenish borrowed names instead of the Dawnish borrowed names. So that's the first thing they would have bitched about, or they would hate about it. Another thing they would have hated about it was that Luna's a white cat instead of being a black cat. But that would just be small picking for them. What else would they have bitched about if it became a full-time thing? Oh, being half live show and half drawing, half live show, half drawing show. That's what they would have bitched about. They would have bitched about how one half of it's a live show and the other half is a drawing show. Then they would have bitched about how, Queen Beryl doesn't look like anything like she does in the Toei one. And, she's after the Kaiserdom Silver Hearse. Instead of the Stones of Might, which were most likely Renaissance Atlantic or New Birth Great Sea's name for the Rainbow Hearse. They weren't really rainbows at all, but that's what they called them. So they would have bitched about that one. They also would have bitched about Queen Serenity not dying, which, she didn't die in that one. And instead of them being, newly born again, newborn again, or born again, they would be living their lives on Earth and not be born again living their lives on Earth, because they would have gone from their worlds to Earth, and then they would have bitched about that. Now they would also make a big deal about them being called the Aldeling Fighters instead of Sailor Fighters or the Sailor Keepers or whatever you want to call them. So they would have bitched about that one. And the song, don't get me wrong, these folks, they would have seeked some way to bitch about the song too. I have watched Renaissance Atlantic Sailor Moon or New Birth Great Sea Glee Sailor Moon, and I like it. Alright? It never saw the light of day until 2022 YL though. It only had one saga to its name, and that was it. So sadly, I think that this Sailor Moon, which they like to call Siobhan Moon, but Siobhan Glee had nothing to do with this at all. It was Frank Wan, who was the forsetter of Bandai Vinland, the arm that handled business and made dolls and handled business in North Vinland for Bandai, mostly in the settled land of 4-1 Reichs. Included dolls and also games. Also, it was being made through his business, Renaissance Atlantic Entertainment, or New Birth Great Sea Glee, And the folks that would have handled it in the behalf of this business was tune makers or drawing makers in business, which is no longer around, which is, no longer around anymore. So, yeah, they would have seeked a lot of things that they'd be unhappy with, a lot of things that they would have bitched or ranted about. And they would have also said that this is not, they would have, if that was a Sailor Moon that they would have bitched about that. They would have been unhappy with this Sailor Moon, just like they were unhappy with the other two Sailor Moons we talked about. And there's one last Sailor Moon out there that we got to talk about. And no, it's not Cloverway Business, because Cloverway Business was just the one to handle the deal businesses on the behalf of the Toei business. We're going to talk about Viz Sailor Moon, the Sailor Moon that a lot of these Sailor Moon followers out here love. And if there's anything about that Sailor Moon that they hate. If you want to hear about how did Pioneer Glee or Pathseeker Glee Sailor Moon get hated, watch that film. And I'll see you all later. Sailor Sky World. Amara, see you later.